Hey, quick question for you. Have you ever received a box that was way too big for the goods that were shipping in it? I bet you have. I bet you have had that several times at least. So I think it's safe that I can talk about the frustrations that come with it. First of all, your trash bin is completely filled with litter. Secondly, you're often receiving your goods damaged because they were moving around in the box while it was being shipped. But thirdly, it also creates a gigantic carbon footprint, which is completely unnecessary. And we're actually so bad in control of this that the EU today is coming up with legislation around it, making this kind of practice illegal. Come to think of it, how is it even possible that we're working on permanent settlements to start living on the moon while we simply still cannot find the right size box for the shipment that we want to ship out? So here's another question for you. Imagine that you could shrink the size of the boxes that are being shipped out through the whole of Europe during a whole year. If you would be able to shrink them by 40%, and 40% is actually the industry standard that we're measuring of the excessive air that is being shipped around in parcels. So if you would be able to shrink all of that air out of it, it creates smaller boxes, and smaller boxes means less paper and corrugated cardboard being used. So if you would be able to do that, how many trees could you actually save? Could you imagine that? Well, it comes down to no less than 98 million trees per year. 98 million trees. That is about the size of 10,000 acres. And 10,000 acres would make up a forest the size of the whole of Manhattan and Central Park in New York altogether. Per year, such a size forest we could save on an annual basis simply by reducing all of the air out of the boxes that we're shipping around. Isn't that just mind-blowing? But let me introduce myself first. My name is Filip, and since 2016 I have been working on solutions to make sure that small and medium-sized companies have access to right-sized packaging at any given time. We call the solution Slimbox, and at the very middle of it there is actually a machine cutting right-sized boxes from corrugated cardboard. The focus on small and medium-sized companies is really on purpose, because we feel and we see that there is no really company actually working on solutions in that market. For very big organizations like Amazon, for instance, there are beautiful solutions, very big solutions. But with these these big companies, they only have just a few warehouses in the world. Globally, maybe a few hundred warehouses in the world. However, they have thousands and thousands, sometimes even 100,000 suppliers that are working and selling through these platforms, very often doing their own fulfillment. And it's actually those type of customers that we are targeting. Though we do need to give them a lot more individual attention, our market technically is much, much bigger. Here you can see what a general setup could look like. At the very beginning, you have a stack of corrugated cardboard, which is stacked in a fan-fold way, so it's in zigzag on one pallet. It gets unfolded through what we call the feeder, and then goes from there down into the Slimbox. And it's in the Slimbox that the actual magic happens. Thanks to its technology, we can technically make any kind of box. And with the Slimbox solution, we're focusing mainly on three different pillars. The first one is what the industry tends to call uglies. Those are all the things that you need to ship that don't really fit in a regular box or don't really fit in the standard fulfillment process flow. So we're thinking of washing machines, ladders, very long LED strips, very heavy items, things that need some extra protection in a general way, or at least an extra look at it before you can simply ship it out. And with the solution, we can't only make the box, we can also make, for instance, extra protective corners so that the objects are really protected when they're being shipped. Another pillar is anything that is really special and you would not by standard be able to get from a corrugated box supplier. So things like inlays, things like engraving, things like very beautiful packaging that are not necessarily shipping packaging, but also SIOC, ship in own container solutions, where the packaging not only looks beautiful, but it's also the actual packaging in which it is being shipped. So that's the second pillar. And the third pillar is really the one that we're most proud of. It's called the Slimbox Fast Flow, and it allows our customers to create right-sized packaging within 1 minute, shipping ready. That is a gigantic leap forward. It's not only reducing the amount of time, but also the amount of labor that they have to put into it. But I hear you. You want to know why all of this is actually interesting for postal organizations, right? Because that's what I was promising you to explain. Well, I understand that you're not making the boxes. I understand that you are just receiving the boxes and then need to ship out whatever is being shipped out. But there's a lot of potential benefits for postal organizations, and that's also the reason why we are focusing on you, to explain you why we want to partner. Let's dive into it. Do you recall the 40% of air that is being shipped around that I was mentioning in the beginning? Well, imagine that you would fill up a truck completely, 100% with boxes, regular boxes, just the way that you're receiving them today. So that means that on average, you should be able to reduce 40% of air out of that truck, which ends up with a truck that is only filled for 60%. So these same parcels are moved out, you repack them in right-sized packaging, and you put it all back in the truck, and all of a sudden you have a truck that is empty for 40%. If you then take that 40% and start filling that up, but also with right-sized packaging and not normal packaging, logically, then you end up with a truck that is actually being filled up by 166% in comparison to the original truck. It means that 66% of your transport can actually be reduced. For a postal organization, the less amount of kilometers that you need to drive, the better. And it's not only on an ecological level, which is really important for us, and that's also the reason why we started the company, but it's also on an economical level, super interesting. But that's obviously not the only benefit. However, I hear you thinking, well, 40%, that's theory, so we can't do that in practice. Well, let's look at what it means if you would do only 30% or only 20%. So if you reduce the air out of the boxes for 30%, out of your truck, so to speak, for 30%, you still end up with 43% more parcels, and 20% of air reduction still leaves you with 25% of more parcels being put in your truck, hence less transport that you need. But also let's look at the other benefits that are there. Well, the first one, next to the big benefit of transport, is also the less broken goods. So on average, our customers have said that by simply replacing the original boxes that they found in their warehouse or had, filled that up with filler material and then shipped out their goods, now replacing that with just right-sized packaging, no extra protection, nothing extra to it, they get 70% less broken goods, 70 already, out of the box, literally. So we can even make that better by doing some protective corners or some extras to the boxes, but that means that our customers, which are eventually your customers, are actually getting a much bigger margin, because broken goods means they have to reship something extra. It's extra footprint, it's extra economical downfall that you have in your whole business setup. And it also, for you, means that there are a lot less insurance issues. So there lies an opportunity for you as a postal organization to actually start negotiating prices. Because first of all, you know that you will have less transport, you will have less insurance issues, and you will have a happier customer. But now you absolutely need to get them to stick with you and not go shop around with other courier companies. And so by negotiating prices, knowing that you already have the benefits, this could really keep your customer with you. Yet another benefit is that we are fully PPWR compliant, which means that we are completely compliant with the packaging and packaging waste regulation, whatever the outcome may be. Thanks to the solution, we can make whatever we want. And so we make sure that our customers are already ready to not be illegal with their packaging within just a few years from now. And another benefit is that it's actually a win-win-win business model. So what we do is we actually rent out the Slimbox. We also deliver the corrugated cardboard, and which makes that they don't really have to do a big investment from the start. They only have to buy that corrugated cardboard, which comes at a lower price than they can actually buy their own boxes. So everybody's winning in this model. And the business model of renting out machines has been around for several decades. I know it's probably a lot to take in, all of these benefits, but just think about it. Think how right-sized packaging could really change your business. But if you look at it really close, then you would see that you actually don't have to change anything. Literally, that's the best part of it all. You don't have to change anything. The only thing that we are asking is that we partner up together. You as a postal organization, we as Slimbox, helping out your customers, which in fact are our customers as well, to start working on right-sized packaging so that everybody in the win-win-win business model can really benefit from it, and that we can all together help ourselves reduce our carbon footprint, reduce our costs, and make sure that we are ready for the new EU legislation. Thank you very much.